a lot of what you do outside the field, like, we talked about, like, if you're going out drinking and stuff like that, like, you're trying to stay healthy, you're trying to be the best of the best. Like, you got to understand that, like, you just wore your body out at the gym all day. You need to recover. That way you can do it again the next day.
We are live. We're live. We are back. We got Nico in the building.
In the building. We gotta put some intro music on there.
Yeah, we gotta like put that something like walk off song. What was your walk off song?
Oh, I had a couple. First year was Till I Collapse by Eminem. Yeah, that was like that was kind of like the, I had it in AAA, but I never told them when I got called up. Yeah. And they ended up just picking that song, and it kind of worked out because it was weird. It was my AAA walkout, and then the big leagues, it was Till I Collapse.
Yeah, it's first episode in English.
We
haven't had an episode in English, but we're gonna have subtitles for our Spanish speakers. This way, we're not only helping people with baseball stuff, but they're learning English on the way as well too.
That's true. I like that.
Yeah. But first and foremost, I mean, people watching already know us, but Nico, give yourself a small intro of who you are and stuff like that.
Justin Nicolino. I just retired. I've been here at Tread a year and 6 months. And yeah, so basically just trying to use all the things that I learned, all the information I gathered, all the ups and the downs that I went through to, kind of help this next generation, have a chance to potentially do what I did. So yeah, that's a little bit about me.
See, that's a kind of a humble introduction to.
Right?
You tell me.
Oh.
If I was in Nico's, just like, who is Justin Nico? I'd be like, yeah, dude, second round and rub, put in the big leagues, these are the D's. I'll hype myself up, but awesome to have you here in the podcast, man. We've been doing this like every Wednesday and just have different topics to continue bringing knowledge to the people. But today's topics, what we got today?
Topic today is just what players do outside the field, outside the facility, and how can that affect their performance? How can that affect their relationship with the coaches? It matters a lot. So, Nico, I'm gonna throw you on the fire. I know you got something to say about that.
Yeah, no, I think the biggest thing, I think we were having a conversation about it yesterday here in the office, and I think that's the great thing about this job, right? We all come from different facets, right? Well, you were a player here, and now you're a coach here. John, you played as a position player. Now you're teaching the throw, which is similar, but at the end of the day, it's a completely different movement patterns and stuff like that. And we were having the conversation, and the biggest thing that like I try to instill in my guys is like, if you fall in love with the routine and the monotony of what you need to know to do day in and day out, you don't have to guess what your task at hand is doing, right? So it's like, we talked about like guys, what they do outside of the field, right? I don't care what you do outside of the field, but you want to make baseball your life per se, like what I did for a long time. Like, you have to be dedicated to what you do when it's time to get to work, and also what you do outside of it, right? Like, I'm all about having fun. You can ask all my buddies, and growing up, like everyone I play with, I had fun. But when it came time to get my work in at the field, that was my task at hand. My day wasn't done until I was done with everything that I knew that I needed to do to make sure that I was ready for each start every 5 days. Yeah. So a lot of what you do outside the field, like, we talked about, like, if you're going out drinking and stuff like that, like, you're trying to stay healthy. You're trying to be the best of the best. Like, you got to understand that, like, you just wore your body out at the gym all day. You need to recover. That way you can do it again the next day and the next day and the next day and the next day to make it a part of the routine. But if you're throwing a wrench in there and, working hard Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday you decide to go out and, like, because the buddies are in town and stuff like that, and you decide to get, have a few drinks or, not get proper rest, well, it's going to show the next day. Then you're going to be pissed off that you had a bad day, but in reality, you're not really self-reflecting and saying, like, oh, that's my fault.
Yeah.
So that's kind of my take on it. Is I'm all about having fun, but at the end of the day too is like, if you want baseball to be your life and you want to play, you have to know what your priorities are. You have to be willing to say no to certain things outside of your training.
Yeah. Understanding like what is the number one goal, and that is to play at the highest level and trying to develop, like you're saying, like things outside of here interfere with what you do here.
Yeah.
So if you go to sleep late, that's going to interfere with your performance. If you eat junk foods, that's going to interfere with what you do. Sometimes guys are like, gym warriors are like, gym rats. They go hard when they're in the gym, then they go out and then they completely are a different person. They're not disciplined with stuff, and it really needs to be an all around kind of approach of, hey, everything I do is surrounded with this in mind. The things I eat, how much water I drink, how much I sleep, everything is funneled into this one thing of this one goal, because at the end of the day it has some interference with it. So just being mindful of when you do things as well. Like, hey, you can have fun, like Nico said, but hey, when can I have fun? If I'm throwing tomorrow, today is not a good day to go out.
You go out to do
and party. Yeah, like you're gonna have 5 days or 6 days, whatever it may be. Hey, if I pitch today and I'm not gonna do anything tomorrow, maybe today's a good day to go out and have some fun or whatever. Of course, not doing any crazy stupid stuff, but understanding the timing of when to do what. There's a time and place for everything.
Yeah.
Like you also see like NBA players, they play a full season, they're super regiment. As soon as the season's over, as soon as they get eliminated from the play, Cancun, baby, they go to the beach, they go have some fun with family, stuff like that. They give themselves a 2 to 3 week break, but they waited all this time to give themselves a break. You don't see freaking LeBron in a resort middle of the season because it doesn't align with his goal. So it's like understanding that plays a big role. Like, what you got on that? Like,
I think going back to like what they do outside the field, outside the field, to me it's like, how can that make you look as a coach? Because that maybe you look bad, but then you don't know what they're doing outside the field, and it's like, man, I'm giving you all my 100% here, and then outside the field you just stabbing on my back, and then that makes me look bad as a coach, and then you start second guessing yourself. Am I doing my job? Yeah, I'm doing my job here, but you have to do your job out there, because if we work everything here and then out there you go and throw it away, it's like, do you really care about this or you don't? So I think it's about the identity of the player. Inside and outside have to be the same one. Like Kobe Bryant, Michael Jordan's, the LeBron James, they're locked in. It don't matter where it is, what time it is. Like, I remember Kobe saying like, oh, I went to party with my boys, but then I told him I wake up at 4 a.m. It's like, now you have to come train with me. You see, they wouldn't do that. So you have to be about that. Like, this is my life. I want to train hard as I can here and outside the field. And then if I go out and drink, I'm gonna go back and do my thing. But I don't feel like a lot of people can do that.
I think the only thing I'll say that is two things to John. Like, I play with a lot of guys that were like, during the season, it was all season mode, and they had a trip built out for the off season where it was like 2 weeks of like disconnecting from the world, like nothing sports related. Like, I want to go be a human being, because like, think about it, like when you're playing 162 games during the season, or you're in the middle of a season, like you're pretty much two people. You're an entertainer, like, right? Like, you play baseball, you put on a uniform, and then you're also a person outside of baseball as well, right? So it's like when that uniform goes on, that mindset goes into that realm. Like, I always tell my guys, like, I have a switch to where, and I think a lot of guys talk the talk, but they don't want to walk the walk, right? Because they don't know how to turn that switch on and off, right? Like, there's a switch that goes like, hey, it's time to go to work. Like, I'm locked in. Like, like what you said about Kobe Bryant too. Like, it's one of those things to where, if you say you want to play baseball and you put in the work, but then it's like what you do outside of it contradicts everything that you're shooting for. I mean, what's the point of showing up, right? At the end of the day, because it's like, we work at a facility where you have every single amenity to be really good. You have 50 plus coaches, all with different backgrounds, all with different knowledge, and you can utilize that. But like, some guys just assume, hey, if I just show up to the facility, I'm better. They don't understand, like, hey, I got to put in the work, and then I got to do work outside of it as well. Like, right? You walk in here, the uniform's put on.
Yeah.
And then when you leave, the uniform takes off, but you still have to prep yourself for the next day.
Something you touched on there in regards to like, some guys come here and they're expecting like, oh, I'm here already, like I'm gonna see results. But the intentionality of like, I'm here, I have to intentionally, have a focus for this day. while I'm in the facility, but also while I'm out. Where like there needs to be that drive. If you just think about, hey, I show up and I'm expecting to see results. Unfortunately, there's like 200 other dudes that show up same time too. So, like, what is gonna make you the difference maker? Everybody's competing for the same stuff. People don't see it that way. It's like, oh, we're buddies and all that, but we're all competing for a spot at the big league level.
Yeah.
A spot to be a starting pitcher, a $20 million extension, right? And there's not many of those. There's 1 or 2 extensions a year, maybe 4, maybe 5, like big extensions like that. There's not many extensions. So if you're looking for a job that nobody has, you have to be intentional with everything you do, from the moment you wake up to the moment you go to sleep, because that's gonna make the difference between you separating yourself from the bunch, right? If you really want to, be big in this one. Somebody said one time, like, this analogy, like, hey, would you like to become a millionaire? So yeah. It's like, well, how hard is that? And they're like, dude, becoming a millionaire sounds really difficult. It's easier to become a millionaire than becoming a big league pitcher. The odds are way above becoming a millionaire because there's so many more options. There's so many different ways to do it. But becoming an MLB pitcher and like being an established one, so difficult to do, and guys sometimes don't comprehend that.
The hardest thing to do, like, I mean, it's been a cliche saying, even when I was a kid and like I was in Little League, going to get, it's hard to make it to the big leagues, but it's harder to stay, right? Like, I was an example of that. I spent parts of 3 years in the big leagues, and it was like, when I first got called up, like, it was like, holy shit, like, I made it, right? But then at the end of the day, like, you have to perform and show up. Like, showing up is easy, but showing up and doing the work is what separates the best from the best.
Right? And doing it for the amount of time that's
100%. Like, and I've watched so much baseball, like, from the dugout, but I've watched baseball so much from the TV, and I've listened to interviews, and like, one of my favorite interviews is like Freddie Freeman, right? The guy's a Hall of Famer, but he always talked about, and this goes in hand in hand, like, of like what we do outside of it. Even when he struggled, even when he found himself in slumps and holes, he never deviated from his routine. He might have made some like minute adjustments, but every day he stuck to his routine, even when he was when he was red hot, even when he was like at the bottom slump, worst hitting streak of his life, he never deviated from it, right? So like that goes to show you how much like a big leaguer like that as a Hall of Famer tells you if you stick to a routine, it pays dividends, right? But then so many guys that we work with, if they have one bad day, they take it home, and then it turns into the next day, and now they're searching for something new. They're like, hey, John, hey, Nico, hey, Welly, I need a new cue, I need a new drill, instead of like,
I need a new coach.
Right, exactly, right? Like, it's one of those things where it's like, guys don't understand, like, we want you to fail. We want you to make mistakes so we can make the adjustment, and then now you can actually feel the mistake and what is actually right. So
100%. Now that we touch upon a lot of great things about like, hey, how everything matters. But you guys have advice for those young guys out there that, hey, they feel like they're searching too much, all right, and they don't have a routine. They go home and they start, making mistakes in regards to what they should be doing to prepare their bodies to be better into the next days and have like a good routine overall. What are advices that you could give those guys?
Make your research, We have a lot of research. We have Trade, we giving free stuff. Members are putting free stuff out there all day long. So, trying to stick with something like, Nico was saying, stick with a routine and see how long it takes and how long it works, if it gets you better. And I feel it's that people are searching. One day they want to try this, another day they want to try this. And then it's like, if they don't see results right away, they kind of like give up. And I feel like you just have faith in something and just stick with it and just be patient. And yeah, it's more about just trusting the process, taking it day by day. Oh, if it didn't work today, tomorrow's gonna work. Like, stick with it, stick with it. Best athletes in the world, they don't be doing a bunch of stuff. Yeah. If they do a bunch of stuff, they do it every day. If they do a little, they do every day. So whatever you do, you're just trying to stay consistent with it. So that's what I got.
I mean, I look at a guy like Mookie Betts. You think Mookie Betts became a World Series MVP, an MVP, and the player that he is by only having success? Like, that's the beautiful thing of this game is like he's failed more times than he's had success, and he's learned from everything, right? Like, and I'll go off of 2 days ago when I got that new athlete. And I was like, hey, John, this guy is like really good. Kind of talk me through the process of like, hey, you got a guy that already has pretty good stuff. Like, how do we like minuscule and be able to give him like the right stuff without already taking away what he's really good at doing, right? Like, and so the cool thing about that is like we're talking about this. We talked 2 days ago. I had my first call with him yesterday, and I was like, "What is your biggest issue?" He goes, "I don't have a routine." He goes, I was like, "Listen, I looked at your video from when you were in high school to when you're in college now, completely different guy, right?" He goes, "Yeah, because when I was in high school, I would come from the infield and then I get on the mound and I just try to throw it hard as I can." I said, "That's the guy I need," right? Like now he's run into all this information and he's trying to become somebody that he's not because of what he's seeing, and he's never had a routine. So for me, I was like, dude, routine, that's me, man. Like that's what I did for my whole career, my whole life, like even now, like. And we had a great conversation to where it wasn't really in depth of mechanical stuff. It was like, hey, dude, we're gonna build a routine to where you can stick to something and you can figure out who you are. Then we make adjustments along the way, because like he was like, dude, I feel like I'm trying something new every day. I said, we're done with that, because him trying something new every day is not leading to consistency on the mound, because he'll either one day walk the house or he'll punch everybody out, right? So it's like, if we just build this guy a routine to start with, I mean, sky's the limit.
100%. And with this conversation we had, the word that came to mind as you guys were speaking was discipline. I think guys have to, when you're embarking in this journey of wanting to play baseball at the highest level, you have to set goals, right? Big goals, intermediate goals, and kind of like daily goals. For you to have that big goal, you need to be disciplined on a daily basis. And discipline, right, is what's going to allow you to be consistent and have a routine on a daily basis. So like, if you know what your goal is, right, you know that, hey, should I drink a soda or should I drink this water with my electrolytes that's going to help me out? Like the small decisions here and there is what's going to help you long term, because you had that big goal, you have intermediate goals, and you have kind of like daily goals that you have to hit to get towards that. And like that's going to drive that switch and that mindset daily. Like, all right, I'm doing this because of this. I'm doing this because of this. And before you know it, you're like, oh, I have a consistent routine. I wake up at this time. I eat a good breakfast. I go to train. I do my mobility. I do that. I go home. I have a good meal after. I take a nap because I need to recover from X, Y, and Z. I do some studying, learn about myself, whatever it may be. Your life becomes this like well-rounded routine because you have this ultimate goal and you're disciplined to it. But yeah, I think you guys touch on great points, and I mean, it's awesome. I don't have anything else.
Yeah, I mean, and just to go off that too is like, and I think like this is more so just like telling the athletes and people that watch this is like, going off of what John said is like, I was on a 5-day routine most of my career until like, minor leagues got like the off day and stuff like this. Cause when I first came up and was playing, it was a little bit different. There wasn't as many, Monday wasn't every off day, like, right. So like you can kind of map out your week, but like for me, it was like, I had my 5-day routine. So the day I started, no one pretty much talked to me the day I started. Cause that was the way I looked at things. That was my one day that I truly got to contribute to the team, right? So like I put everything in that 5th day. But the 4 days in between, I was studying. I was one of the guys. I was shooting the shit in the clubhouse. I was keeping the clubhouse good vibes, all this stuff. But I had my routine from, when I showed up to the field, I would show up to the field either 12:30 or 1. That way I gave myself enough time to, either eat lunch, sit down, watch some baseball, watch some news, catch up, talk to the family. But when a certain time hit, everything was calculated. Every time was calculated. Like if stretch was at 3:30, I was starting all my baseball stuff at 2:00. Gave myself an hour and a half. Start day, it was even more rigorous. If I had a really good start the outing before, I'd go to the same breakfast place. I'd eat the same thing for lunch. I'd show up the same time. I'd do the same routine. And like, I think the biggest thing is like, having this conversation, which I think is a great first, podcast for this, is like, you want to know where to start like, and you want to know where to get on the right path, build out a routine. You build out a routine. Like, you wake up every morning, you make your bed, you start your day off on a good foot, right? Like, you wake up, make your bed. I mean, I even now at 33 years old, I lay my clothes out every night before work for the next day, right? Like, that's how weird I am. Like that, because like that's just how I was throughout my career. I packed my own bag. Like, you wanna figure out baseball, establish a routine, and then when the baseball stuff comes, it just falls right into place. So
Yeah, man, it was nice. You know,
Good. It was good.
glad to have Nico. But Nico, we have to introduce you to the one and only, the one who made this possible.
Jesus Christ.
Jesus Christ, you know.
Yeah.
I'm a firm believer of Jesus. We are. Nico, I
Amen.
hope you are too. He's the one and only. It's a true identity. As a player, but as a baseball player myself, we find ourselves putting our identities in sports, in the weight room, and coaching, and all these, you know, titles. And it can take peace away from you. So I think the only way you can find true peace is knowing that Jesus Christ is the only one who gives you this gift to help people, to play sports, you know, to have a family, to love. And, you know, I'm glad that we started this podcast with you, Nico. Yeah, and I hope we can just keep, you know, teaching others. And then, yeah, you know, that's all I got.
Amen. Guys, make sure to like, comment, subscribe somewhere out here.